the floor is yours.
Thanks, Steph. Just big welcome to everyone. Thanks for being here. And yeah, we're going to talk about how to engage young people digitally. Interesting, like we're going back physically to youth meetings this Friday. So that will be Friday, the 18th of September in 2020 for anyone who's watching this on YouTube at a later date. But we're going back physically. So that's like 6 months we've been online, running youth online. And the importance to talk about this, if I just kind of paint the picture, the importance to talk about it is obviously young people are so familiar with the digital space. They kind of live their lives in the digital space. It's where they feel at home. And it's where they probably conduct most of their social interaction will be in that digital space. And so sometimes as churches, we're a rush to try and get up to speed. I know even personally, you can be at a rush to try and get up to speed with what's happening digitally, because it's so fast moving now. If you think of the last 10 years, digitally, we've probably moved on in the last 10 years quicker than, you know, for a bigger expanse of time before that. And so we have a great opportunity to reach young people, and a great opportunity to disciple young people as well in that digital space. One of the things I'll mention is we're going back to physical gatherings from this Friday that I just said. And it's interesting how many of the young people that haven't engaged with our youth program on a weekly regular are now wanting to come back to the, you know, physical gathering again, like us gathering together. It's interesting, even we were just chatting today, and just, you know, lots of young people who haven't, you know, tuned into Zoom or haven't commented on a YouTube stream, but then they're wanting to be back in the physical. And so part of me recognizes that actually it's going to have to be twofold in terms of youth ministry in the future. And I think it has to be anyway. And I've made up a word for you all. So if you're taking notes, you can try and spell it. Phygital, which is physical and digital, because we have to be in both spaces. I really believe we have to be in both spaces. And many people, many churches over the last period have been talking kind of like physical and digital being separate, and, you know, kind of like, are we, you know, I've heard phrases like, are we going to be an online church with physical campuses and vice versa? But I think it's both, and that actually this is the season that we're in, that there's this physical and digital. And kind of a quote for me to start with, and then I'll go into what I'm kind of going to call a little bit around like digital discipleship, engaging young people digitally, discipleship wise, and maybe talk around some of the tools that we can use for that. Who's a youth ministry guru. Her name is Mayo, and she's from America. And I read a quote from her like 10 years ago, and it still sticks true today. And the quote was this: those who go the most will win. And when she was talking about it, she was talking about schools, and she's talking in American context. And she was saying, if the drug dealer is in the life of a young person more than you, they'll win. And, you know, you could name whatever, you know, if that is in their life. And I think we have an incredible opportunity now that actually we get to engage with young people more in their worlds and more regularly than ever before in terms of this digital era, that we're able to do that. And so Steph's going to just post a link to our Youth Revival website, which is like, we've got this resources page that is really great in terms of just helping you engage with some of those resources. Some of those are designed for online. I'm just putting together actually what I'm calling Zoom games, which don't have to be on Zoom. It can be on any platform, but most people are using Zoom these days. But there are other good, you know, whatever they're called, communication tools available. I'm just putting that out there for YouTube purposes when it goes out. But just putting them together, so they'll go on the website. But there's loads of resources. But one of the resources is what is under youth pastors, and it's called discipleship tips. And really, these are designed. Well, when I was writing these, I was thinking of this current period and what we're facing in terms of maybe physical gatherings not coming back or looking very different, all of those. And I kind of just came up with three ways really that we could help just engage young people and engage them digitally, or maybe the first one's not so digital, because the first one is this: phone calls, and actually calling young people. They may not answer, but then you can shoot them a text afterwards or whatever. But I don't know, but I think there's something a little bit more special about, like a physical, a phone call, hearing someone's voice. And I think young people who do answer would, and it doesn't have to be anything, it can just be, how's your week been? Just calling to, say hello, those kind of things. I think that makes a big difference. We've said it to our youth leaders, and I really believe it. What we've done in terms of caring for young people, engaging with young people over this period, even if, they've not engaged all the time with what we've done, I think will have a massive effect in the future. And you'll see that in the future in terms of caring for those young people. And I think that will have a massive effect. We got a couple of stories in our youth ministry of young people who have been contacted pretty much every week. Maybe that's by text or in group chats, whatever it might be, and they've not engaged with anything. And then all of a sudden it's like they've come back on the scene, and they've been, back on the scene. And that's because there's been this regular contact. If they don't have a phone, or maybe you don't have their details, but you have their parents' details. I think also, like, especially if they're a church parent, calling a church parent and just saying, hey, I'm just ringing to, see how, little Johnny is. I don't know why I came up with that name. But I'm just ringing to see how they are. I know, because I'm a parent now. I mean, my boy's only 6, but I know as a parent, that would mean a whole load. And I think getting parents on side, and I'll talk about that in terms of social media in a bit, but getting parents on side and working with parents is a big deal. So that first one is phone calls. The second one is Zoom calls. Let's have a raise of hands if you've got Zoom fatigue, if you're fed up of this. Yeah, probably like every single young person as well. I wouldn't worry too much. I mean, we've had it, many of our youth have been on Zoom calls every week. Some have been on once, few have been on others. I think the big thing around Zoom calls is to try and make it fun, and to try and, that's why I'm kind of putting some Zoom games together that you'd be able to do, put that, because it's kind of making time of connection. Playing a group game, getting one of your young people involved to run a game. I think that's a big way of engaging young people. Speaking positively about your week, praying with them, doing a study, but making it memorable and making it fun, I think is a big deal. And even being willing, we ask this question of our youth leaders, what crazy things are you willing to do so young people have a good time? And it's like one of the number one questions we ask youth leaders, because like, you're gonna, like, if you get embarrassed easily, well, you're gonna get embarrassed a lot as a youth leader, because you're gonna be asked to do some crazy things. And Friday night on our YouTube stream, I got pied in the face with a whole face full of shaving cream, and other youth leaders did. And let me tell you, it was all in my hair. And I have gone for the little alpaca look at the moment with curly hair here. That's basically I've just not blow dried it for a couple of days and it goes curly. But just willing to do crazy things. And I think on those Zoom calls, I think sometimes, it can kind of look like this, can't it? We're just sat in our room and it can kind of look like this. So, just fun things like let's do different backgrounds, or just trying to make it fun if that's your avenue of connecting with them. And then the last thing in terms of kind of this discipleship, and then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to talk to us about kind of all the social media platforms that are out there, ways that we could use them as youth ministries. And maybe there's one thing or maybe two things that, okay, we need to begin to do that. That's something that we could do that would engage some young people. And the last thing in this discipleship is devotions on the Bible app. I'm thankful for Craig Rochelle and Life Church for creating the YouVersion Bible app, because they've got a whole load of plans. If you want some plans for young people, then there's a great, their youth ministry, Switch Youth, have a whole load of plans available on there. And if everyone's got the Bible app, then you can do them together actually on the Bible app. And what a great way, for young people, hey, download the Bible. We're going to read the Bible together. We're going to do this together. But also through your groups, you're able to do there's talk it over sections, all of that. That helps with that discipleship. So that's on our resources page under Youth Pastor. And that's just under discipleship. And many of that can be done through what we would call the digital world. And it's exciting because we have in our hands or on our screens, we have the ability to make contact and reach young people like never before. And it's never been easier for a young person to share what's happening with their friends, to share it to their feed, to share it to their story, however that might be. And that's able to go. One of the things that I've been looking at recently is what on Instagram is insights, and just how I've not been looking at our youth figures because I don't run our youth, but even just youth revival, the Instagram for youth revival, just looking at insights and what's the percentage in terms of the reach outside of people that we follow. And you get to see that. And the more shares that gets, the higher that percentage goes. And, it reaches their friends. And we have to be in that world as youth ministries, because research will tell us that 9 out of 10 young people in the UK use one or more social media platforms, which means for the youth we're connected to, the online world is like a big part of their life. I'd be interested, actually, you could do this with your young people. Ask them what they think their average time on social media is per day. And then if they've got the ability to go on to their, average time, then put it out there. And I'll put money on it that they think they spend less time on it than they actually do. Why do I think that? Because I think that myself. I set an hour limit on my social media. I've got a limit set on my social media for every day. But let me tell you, I ignore that limit on a regular every day. And it can sometimes very quickly get to an hour. It depends what I'm doing. Any questions? Let me go through these and just be jotting your questions down, everything. But I'm just going to talk very briefly about each social media and something that you could do, or some things that you could do to utilize that social media to engage with young people through that. So the first one is Instagram. And the likelihood is that all your young people are probably on Instagram. That's the likelihood. And so if your youth ministry isn't, now would be the best time to set up a youth Instagram, because all of your young people will be on Instagram. And there's 3 kind of main functions with Instagram that you can use. There's stories. These are temporary posts that stay up for 24 hours. And they're a great way of getting content out quickly without worrying that it stays on your feed. You can upload photos and videos to your stories, and there's filters, there's GIFs. You can make posts more engaging. I think you can use this if, this is a great option if you want to post regular encouragements to young people, even shout outs to young people, those kind of things. have a member of your youth even do like a daily thought or prayer, whatever it may be. Stories are a great way just to engage with young people. And with stories, you can post, it's not just one a day. You can post multiple stories in a day, and that doesn't seem like overkill or over the top. And it doesn't have to be the greatest quality to engage young people. One of the things I would say about everything is like, get young people to do it, because when young people do it, the engagement goes up massively. We've done some, another feature of Instagram is Instagram TV, which is a feature where you can post a video that's longer than a minute. And we've been doing 1 minutes of fire, which have lasted 1 minute and 15 seconds, because we've had like an intro and stuff. We've done like thought, just got young people to share thoughts. So the 1 minute of fire is just a young person sharing a thought around a Bible verse, post those out. They've been some of our biggest engagements, and some of the things that young people have engaged with the most, because we've been able to put that out there and do that and regularly engage them. And so using young people is great. So that's kind of stories and Instagram TV. Posts these stay on your profile permanently. They appear on your main feed on the Instagram homepage. And it's just a great way of getting the news out of what's happening, like online hangouts, small groups, updates. But I want to encourage us as well. Young people's feeds are probably being filled with posts that could stir up fear and panic and worry about, the world, the current situation, whoever they may follow. And we have an opportunity, as the Bible tells us, to be salt and light, to communicate hope with wisdom in this time. And so that's a great opportunity to create hope. What I would say about these posts is now they have to look at a decent quality level. Don't take a picture on a potato and post it, because they're used to kind of like this photoshopped world that now Instagram has become. But don't let that stop you. Don't let that stop you from posting. I'd rather posts be out there. And for me, a good rule of thumb in terms of posts is don't post too often. So like once a day or twice in one day if it's a big thing, but once a day would be the limit in terms of that, because that can just if you're filling young people's feeds all the time with all of that stuff, they won't engage with it. And then the last thing is Instagram Live, which is just, I think, a great tool to use for like fun. So Q&A, a short thought from the Bible. You can get other people onto an Instagram Live. You can get another user on. We've used that tool as well. But I think it's a great way to engage young people and engage them in what you're doing. So that's Instagram. That's kind of the one I'll take the most time on today. Next one is Facebook. And you're probably thinking, do young people have Facebook? Well, according to a 2019 study, Facebook is the second most used social media platform among 15 to 25s. So young people do use it a lot. They just don't engage with it. So they don't like posts. They don't comment on it. And it's far less that they would engage with a post on Facebook. Often if you ask a young person if they're on Facebook, they'll probably say, no, my mum's on there. But they're still on Facebook. And so one of the things that I think Facebook could be used for is actually to engage parents, because the parents are probably on Facebook. And like I said at the start, engaging young people digitally means we have to know these tools, but also if we engage the parents in what we're doing and they know what we're doing and we're giving that information, it's easier to get you got the parents on side. It's easy to get the young people on side, especially those parents in church. But what we found as well is that we would find parents from outside of church will like our Facebook page to find out what's happening and to even send us messages with questions, those kind of things. And so that's a useful form of way of contacting with parents, and a way of connecting with parents, and connecting with team. And so we've got a page. Pages are kind of just a centralized point where an admin person can post statuses, share content, create events, all of that. You're able to do Facebook Live, you're able to do groups, but I would say that's probably the big one in terms of having a page. Yeah, your young people like it, but actually it gearing towards a little bit more towards the parent and towards the team end as well, and engaging them, because I believe you get the parents on side, the young people then will get on side as well. I really believe that. Okay, next one is WhatsApp. We've probably all got WhatsApp on here, which is kind of like messaging. It's great for small groups, and it's great for engaging young people in chat and doing some of those devotional stuff, doing those things, and just a great way. It's just perfect for small groups, just contacting, asking how they're doing. One of the things that is actually on the resources is our Icon Youth phone policy, which we would have small groups together in a chat, and we would have two leaders, minimum two leaders in that chat as well. And, for accountability reasons, all of that, we don't have any real kind of one-to-one. We don't do any one-to-one. It's all done in a chat, unless we have permission from a parent that we're able to do one-to-one contacting with a young person, and we gain that permission from a parent. So that might be around, like, if there's specific mentoring or whatever, that wouldn't happen. But WhatsApp seems to be the kind of number one way that these smaller groups work, and it's just great for connecting with young people, engaging young people. And like, we've got stories of young people who haven't engaged for a few months, but they're still in WhatsApp groups, and then all of a sudden up pops a message from them, and they're back engaged, and they're watching, they're reading, and you get to see if they're reading, and they get to see, it's great to communicate information, but also great to disciple and care for young people in that. There's obviously video chats like we're doing through Zoom, Skype, Google Hangout, all of that, which you can do small group online. I talked about that a little bit. I want to kind of just talk about YouTube as well, because YouTube is the number one social networking site for young people. It's the number one social networking site. And you might not class it as social networking, but it is. And so most of the time, if you ask a young person, I think I read a study, I think it's just 60% of young people will watch YouTube at least once a day. Will go on YouTube at least once a day. And they're watching anything from cat videos to their favorite YouTubers, to fail videos, to anything. And so actually YouTube is great for sharing videos and allowing to create your own content from it. I would encourage anyone who's thinking of doing youth online to really consider YouTube. Because we did YouTube to start with. We came off YouTube, we went to Zoom for a few weeks, and that quickly kind of went downhill on Zoom a little bit. We went back to YouTube, and levels of engagement are a lot higher, and all of that, and we just see comments, engaging with them, all of that. But I'd also encourage creating just content even around things that young people might be asking, like even, just questions that young people might be asking in today's world, just sharing something, just sharing a video. And again, with most phones now, you can put something out between 5 to 10 minutes that will be, fairly decent quality. And I would say engaging with young people online, you've got to, that first 20 seconds is really key in terms of if you're putting something out there, that first 20 to 30 seconds to engage them. So creating like the tension, creating the moment where I'm going to ask and we're going to answer some tough question, or we're going to answer some question that you're all asking. We're going to do that. Don't spend the first 20, 30 seconds reading. I'm going to read you 20 verses from the Bible, because they'll be on the cat video very quickly, because they have all the suggested videos next to them. But creating that tension, creating something, and make sure it's something that's in their world. And so I'd encourage you, YouTube on that. And then the last one that I want to highlight, one that we've not really tapped into as a youth ministry yet, but is one of the fastest growing social networks, is TikTok. And if especially younger youth, they'll be on TikTok. It's a great way of posting short content, funny videos, getting a reasonable amount of engagement. And if you can create some strange dance moves, then put them on TikTok and see if your young people will recreate them, all of that. We've not successfully done that, and we've not done that. So I know that's a lot, but that's the digital world that young people live in. It's a lot. And I'd encourage you to think of, what's one thing that I can do to try and engage? What's one thing? Maybe that's, I'm going to set up an Instagram, and we're going to create an online calendar of what we do to try and engage young people. And then what's one thing? Yes, Ben Lloyd, Twitch is another one we used in terms of gaming as well, which is fairly successful actually, and is a great avenue actually engaging young people in terms of, you might do gaming tournaments that stream Twitch. I don't know how easy that is, because we've got a team who do it, but it seems fairly simple. And so, yeah. So there might be one thing that you think, okay, we're going to try that. We're going to do that. We're going to start there. We're going to do that to try and engage our young people. And then the last thing I'd mention is build a team of young people who are kind of your, I don't know how to word it, like your social squad. They're your influencers. They're the ones who are going to comment. They're the ones who are going to like. They're going to be first to comment. They're going to be first to like. And they're going to share the content as well. So it goes out to a broader and wider audience. Because young people reach young people. That happens physically, and that happens digitally. We all know that happens digitally, because if our friend reposts something that we like the look of, we all look at it. We all click that link, or we all look at it, or whatever. It's the same. The young people post, oh, I like the look of that. What is that? And that can spark conversation. And also, we have to recognize that when young people are inviting friends, when we come back to physical, they've already been to our youth ministry. They've just been to it online. They've looked on social media. They've looked on wherever. And so we're just able to paint a picture of what that might look like. And so I want to encourage you to think of one thing, think of something that you can do after this. What's one thing that we're going to do? And just begin to do it well, and get young people bought into it. I think that's the key in terms of engaging young people online is, hey, we're going to do this. We want you to be involved, and get them bought into it. And I really believe you'll reach more young people. So that's kind of my overview. There's a lot of information there, and could have gone to a lot more. But any questions from anyone? Any thoughts? Any questions? Yeah. The awkward Zoom silence. Everyone hates it.
Oh, all right, let's go. Let's do it. Go. Social. I've got to be honest with you, we were a bit late and only really ventured into Insta because of lockdown. So we sort of caught it early on. Now, I am social media, I'm rubbish. Hands up, I am horrendous at it. So in terms of how do you said you've got like your social squad, you've got people who do it. How do you kind of coordinate, monitor that? Well, because there's loads, isn't there? There is loads.
Yeah. So I think, well, firstly, just think of someone who seems to be great on social media, who might be part of your leadership or older youth. who seems to be great, seems to have a passion for it, seems to be posting a lot themselves. Do that. And then there are many different apps. One of the apps that I'll I'll mention is Canva, Canva, where you're able to create like posts that look great, even little videos that look great. I know we use those a little bit. We've got a great team who, train others in terms of Photoshop, that kind of stuff. But many of ours will use Canva as well, because that's really good and really modern as well in terms of their designs. So that's an easy tool to use for them. And monitoring it, you kind of just have to monitor it yourself in terms of just checking posts are going out, checking engagement, and then just, like one of the things that, just encouraging young people. This is what a great platform we've got to share the message of Jesus, and, painting the vision for it. What a great, opportunity that we've got, that's, it's easy enough to share a link, to share a post, to share something that actually gets out to our friends, that could spark conversation, that could spark those things. And, just painting a vision for your young people, and then get your leaders bought in as well. Like, your leaders set the tone, the leaders set the atmosphere. So get them commenting, liking, all of that. I mean, we were great at the start of lockdown. We just had to talk to our leaders again about keeping doing it in terms of posts. Like, we would tag young people in the comments in the posts, like youth leaders would tag young people. What are you excited for? Those kind of things, to try and create engagement with that. But that's coming from their youth leader, like our Connect leaders, someone who's a leader over them. So there's a few ideas with that. The key is to get someone who's passionate about it, and kind of painting the vision and going, hey, look, this is what we want to do. We want to reach young people digitally. Instagram, I haven't got a clue, but you seem to have a clue. So let's work together. You can teach me, and let's do this so we can reach young people digitally. So a few ideas there. Hope that helps.
Yeah, and also private or kind of public. Are you? Yeah, I mean, I've got you the elevate that we do at Ashwell. We obviously follow your Insta, and I see some of the bits that you do. I mean, are you sort of public with that, or how do you manage your accounts?
So we're public in terms of all of our accounts, because if they're private and things get shared, then people who aren't following the account can't see them. I think I'm right in saying that. And so we obviously want to be public in terms of our accounts, in terms of youth and that. Personally, I'm public in my account because, I got lots of friends who aren't Christians, and, they might share some of my stuff, and I'm like, yeah, get your mates to see this, whatever it might be. Conversations for me personally as well, in terms of my own personal reach in my friends. It's interesting. I'll post pictures of church and they'll be like, that's not church. I get lots of comments like that. One of my friends thought I owned a club, not church, because I used to post pictures of youth, and it was like, or young people going absolutely mad, and they were like, that's a club, that's not church. And I'm like, no, that's church. And it like completely blew their mind. So I'm public. I mean, I guess in terms of personal, that's your own preference, what you're sharing. But in terms of like your youth account, I would say be public, because when young people share, then their friends who aren't part of youth, who aren't involved, they'll get to see those posts as well.
Yeah, fab. Cheers, mate.
No worries. Anyone else?
I've just got a quick question. It's just a practical one, really. You're saying that you're going to start meeting together in person, so with your youth group. So will you be? Will they have to wear masks? because I'm considering it, but I'm thinking that's going to be like a real barrier. So what do you feel around that?
Yeah, so so they will wear masks coming into the building, and then they'll get taken to their seat. So every young person will have, in our auditorium, will have an allocated seat, which is socially distanced away from everyone else except anyone who's in their bubble. So Joseph, who's on this call, him and his sister can sit together. Not that Joseph will want to sit next to his sister, but he will. So, because they're they're a family. But then what we're encourage them to do is actually bring snacks, because if you're eating, you can't wear your mask. So, kind of like, bring drink, bring snacks, those kind of things in your seats, that kind of stuff. And then we're kind of like, when you're moving around, you need to wear your mask. You need to be doing that. And we're just making sure everyone's socially distanced away from each other. So it's unfortunate. I'd love to be able to say to them, you don't have to wear, but that's what we're doing. I think if you were meeting like in somebody's garden or even in somebody's house as like a group of 6, then they wouldn't have to wear masks, but it'd still be socially distant stuff. But in our building, that's what we've got to do. We've got to do the masks. So yeah.
That's great. Thanks.
Good.
Right.
Anyone else?
No more questions.
Go on, Steph.
Don't think there is any more. Well, guys, it's been a pleasure for you to join us. And Nathan, thank you for your wisdom